At no point was Lovey or the players ever going to try to tank yesterday. I know how upset a lot of you are, and we're going to talk about that, and you guys are going to get jump in here and talk about this, but at no point did Lovie Smith care anything about losing that game.
No.
Zero.
No.
And most coaches won't.
Can we stop already with everybody's all upset about them winning the game and saying how they screwed up tanking? There is not a guy in that locker room that gives a rat's patoot about that draft pick. They care about their careers. They want to win. They want to play as well as they possibly can. They want to coach as well as they possibly can because that might be how they stay in the league and get that paycheck the following year. Can we stop about the tanking and they even screw that up? They're supposed. Their job is to win football games, and so can we stop with that? There is not a coach in the world that would say, "Yes, yep, we're going to lose this game. Let's lose this game so that we can get that pick." I saw there's so many things that were on Twitter yesterday that were just so amazingly uninformed about this whole process and everything. Yeah. And oh, by the way, how about this? How about this scenario? So I've seen a lot of scenarios. One of the scenarios is the Colts wanted to lose so that they can move up and trade up with the Bears and get Bryce Young. So the Colts wanted to lose, even though they had the lead in the last minute of the game. Mm-hmm. They were really trying to lose that football game, I could see.
Well, it looked like the safety was with the way he played that fourth. Well, I don't know how he missed
except
that,
for the interception
honestly.
he had earlier in the game.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Yeah.
I don't know how he missed that. I don't know how he missed that,
I have no
that
idea.
throw.
Do you remember the Texas A&M UCLA game? When the ball went right through the defensive back's hands and it won the game for UCLA.
How long ago
was
was
almost
that?
identical. It was when Summy was there. It was one of Summy's first games.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I had totally forgotten about that game.
Might have been Summy's first game.
It almost looks like
it went right through his hands.
Interception and he misses.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It was almost identical, and it won the game in the last play. It was unbelievable.
The number one fear right now is
I'm
I
giving
heard
you a
yesterday.
scenario.
Yeah.
So the Colts. The only issue would be if the Texans really want Bryce Young and think that that he's the guy. Mm-hmm. Is if the Colts do move up, package something, and trade with the Bears, and the Bears trade out of there to number 5, which is not crazy.
No, Ryan Poles
might
needs
be.
picks.
What's crazier is that the Colts would have to have Bryce Young so badly that they would give up future ones for him.
What's crazy is the guy who is one of my mentors in scouting, who hates small players.
Yeah, right.
would move up for the guy would be the smallest quarterback in the league in almost 3 decades.
Well, we're assuming that your guy is still going to be there, though.
Yeah, he's going to be there.
He's going to be there?
Yeah, they had a 4-hour meeting yesterday.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll see if he makes the pick. I mean,
right.
Who's the head coach, how involved is Jim Irsay, but
all right, now the other scenario is this.
that's a little bit of a reach, but it is not a reach that Ryan Poles will move that first pick. That's not a reach.
No, that's not a reach that he would move the first.
Unless he doesn't like Justin Fields. And then in that case, he could move Justin Fields, because if he doesn't believe Justin Fields is ever going to develop into a good passer, you could move Justin Fields and then draft quarterback.
Yeah, right.
One.
No. Justin Fields, would have some value. Mm-hmm. Who has more value, Justin Fields or Bryce Young?
Honestly,
that's a tough one.
It's tough because, and I know everyone out there is just freaking out when we say that, because Bryce Young is a better passer and all that stuff. I'm going to say this until I can't say it anymore. NFL teams have size standards. Bryce is so far below it that there have been studies on injuries and all that stuff that they may. It's just not a lockdown, surefire cinch that people are going to rush up to trade for a guy who would have to be one of the great outliers in the draft over the last 30 years, just because they don't exist. Players that size don't really exist, and I've really studied it a lot, and I'm having to cope with it myself because I really like the player, but I got to try to figure out, okay, how are teams going to look at this guy? Because I don't know yet. I haven't talked to teams specifically about Bryce Young, so I don't know how they're going to measure the play on the field versus the likelihood. I know how they feel about the likelihood of injury about any player. They felt that way about Lamar Jackson. They felt that way about Baker Mayfield. There's concern about Kyler, except he doesn't get hit a whole lot. They've got size standards.
Yeah.
And I know for example, the Colts size standard is 6'1", 214 is the lowest they want to go. I've got their chart from 2017, what the NFL average size was at quarterback, And then what their bottom line, like the lowest they want to go, is 6'1", 214 at quarterback.
Unless he walks on water.
I don't know that that's. I mean, the exceptions have to be. It would have to be if he's 208.
Yeah,
that's when you're making exceptions. You're not making exceptions typically at 20 pounds.
Right. Okay. Another scenario that could possibly happen with this first pick. The Texans package their second overall pick and their 12th, the Browns pick, and move up one spot.
That's the one that is the dumbest. The people say that could happen, to me, is the dumbest thing in the world.
Who said that? I thought I made that up.
No.
No way.
Yes, I dealt with that yesterday. Yes, I dealt with that. 2 first. Now they're going to package 2 first and move up
to 1.
To 1. No. I saw that more than once.
No, what?
Anything you can think of dumb I saw yesterday. Because I made a comment on Twitter.
There's no way that somebody...
I had a firestorm of Texans fans against me, and I'm up here trying to work, and I had to answer, and I realized that I've studied team building for years, way before I started doing just NFL.com draft stuff. I've been studying this stuff for years, just doing shows with you for years, probably since about 2001, and how teams are team building. And, I've gone through drafthistory.com and looked at all this. I have NFL research packets of NFL norms, standards, historical stuff. I've worked with Tyler Oberle, an analytics director for Tampa Bay, about what has been successful in the league and what hasn't. I have all this information, and what I'm telling you is that the reason I'm not panicking about this, about not having first, I understand that people, it was like, it's your goal to be, if you have the first pick, you can pick whoever you want. I get that. I totally understand that. That's certainly understandable.
But there's only one guy gone after that. There's only one guy gone.
Yeah.
And it's like everybody thinks, okay, 1, 2 has zero value. You do know that the biggest trades in recent history, RG3, Ryan Leaf, Mitchell Trubisky, were all the number 2 pick.
Number 3 was Miami got a haul for Trey Lance at number 3.
At number 3. It's not the first pick that has the most value.
The first pick has been traded 3 times in the last 25 years. It's been Michael Vick. It has been Jared Goff. Before there was even, it was early in the process. Jared Goff, Titans and Rams. It was Michael Vick back to 2001, and there was one, and Orlando Pace, the trade up for Orlando Pace. So the Rams were involved in 2 of those.
Do you count Eli? Because they did have to trade out of that one.
Well, no, because that was he forced his way out.
Right.
So this is what I can tell you. This is why I'm not personally panicking. One of the things we saw in the Georgia game is not only did C.J. Stroud play with poise, he scrambled and ran, which is something he didn't do all year long, and hurt teams with his legs. He throws with really good accuracy. That was something that I found. I told you about that Friday when I looked at accuracy numbers. I'm like, wow, C.J. Stroud is substantially better than any of the quarterbacks in this draft. And when you watch it on tape, he was really, really good. He got through progressions. At one point, he had 1 touchdown pass where he got through 4 progressions. And I know how teams are. If they have a reason to get away from a little quarterback and they think a bigger quarterback gives them a chance, this very well, the Colts, for example, could trade up and say, we're going to go with C.J. Stroud because we think he's more durable, and we saw something in that Georgia game that blows us away. Well, then the Texans would have Bryce Young fall right to him, and if they really like Bryce Young enough, they could draft him.
What if they like Stroud?
That's the thing. What if they like Stroud? Then they don't care if somebody goes up and gets –
unless they get Stroud.
Hey, and if you say, wait a minute, C.J. Stroud is clearly, Lance, you just said that clearly Bryce Young is the best quarterback. Yes, and Sauce Gardner was the best cornerback.
Yeah.
And they still drafted somebody else. I don't think Nick Caserio necessarily cares what my board looks like. He's got certain physical standards he loves, and he went with traits. I mean, I think Sauce has got good traits too, but the guy that's the body type guy is Derek Stingley.
Yep.
And I've been trying to warn you guys that I've mentioned Levis, but now after watching Stroud versus Georgia, the Texans could also look at C.J. Stroud if they want to. If Nick Caserio wants to go with a quarterback with a certain size and pocket capabilities, he could end up looking. I mean, Levis to me is kind of a joke. I mean, Levis is you should never draft a guy with Will Levis's work that needs to be done. Never. With the first pick. That would be, for me, ridiculous. But I'm just telling you, there are definitely scenarios where teams could also trade up. A team could trade up with the Chicago Bears, John, and draft Jalen Carter or draft Will Anderson. Somebody with the quarterback could say, this guy is a difference maker for us. We are going to trade up and get that first pick. I don't see anyone being in a rush to trade up for a guy who's the smallest quarterback in 3 decades.
Yeah.
It's just that's not the NFL norm. That's not the way these teams work. But what they could do is trade up for the guys who have traits, who have dominant potential, and that's Anderson, Tyree Wilson, and Jalen Carter. These are the guys that you're more likely to see a team trade up for with the number 1 pick from the Bears. So, and that would be a team that already has some quarterback play that feels like, okay, we've got quarterback. We think this guy's special. You could still have Will. What I'm telling you is you could definitely still have Bryce Young fall to you at 2. If your entire thing has been Bryce Young, which I get, I like him too. If that's your thing, I do not think it's out of the question that the Bears end up trading the pick, but I also don't think it's out of the question that Bryce Young is not the guy that people trade up for.